everyone. So I figured today I would answer some commonly asked questions while you get to watch me make brownies. So going straight off of the fact that I'm making brownies, I frequently get asked how I can bake if I'm allergic to all food. So a common misconception that I've experienced quite a lot growing up is that since I'm allergic to all foods, I can't touch them at all. If it was any sort of nut, this would 100% be correct. But for the majority of foods, I can touch them, but I need to wash my hands afterwards wherever I came in contact with food. So whether it got on my hands, I make sure I scrub my hands, or I've had it where I'm making icing for cupcakes and I've gotten some on my forearm. As long as I wash it off, typically I'm fine. Now, if I get in physical contact with something that contains milk, I will get hives and welts, but Benadryl stops them, so as long as I have Benadryl on hand, I'm golden. So everyone is always taken aback when I mention myself baking or cooking and always ask if I can due to my food allergies. So like I kind of just said, the short answer is yes. As long as I don't ingest the food, I'm good. Now, when I opened the brownie mix, you could see that I leaned away from the bag, and that's because I don't know if some of the powder is going to try to come towards me or not, so I like to play it safe rather than sorry. Now, if I'm dealing with milk or eggs, you'll see me disappear for a second to the right, and that's me washing my hands. Whenever I bake or cook, I wash my hands quite a deal just as a precaution. All of that being said, the thing that makes everyone confused a bit is the fact that I actually love baking. It's something my mom taught me growing up, and I just love doing it. My friends and people from church never know when I'm just going to show up with a cardboard box full of baked goods, which is actually who these brownies are for. Like you can see, I have a backpack on in this video, and that's a common question I get in person is why I always have a backpack. Now, some people just think I use a backpack instead of a purse, but typically once someone notices my line, then they'll ask about it. So I have a GJ feeding tube due to my severe food allergies and gastroparesis. So that means my stomach is paralyzed, therefore it doesn't function. I've now had a feeding tube for 14 years. So a question going off of that is, can I take my backpack off? Now, this question always gives me a smile because it's typically asked like this by a younger kid, and 9 times out of 10, if I explain I'm connected to the backpack and show them my line, they think that I physically can't take the backpack off of my back. And I always find it adorable how excited they get when I take the backpack off of my back and they see that I'm not always connected to it. Now, when an adult asks me this question, I know they're wondering if I can disconnect from my backpack. So disconnecting the line from my extension to my feeding tube. So the answer for that is yes. I can go swimming, horseback riding. I've played airsoft. I can be disconnected for about up to 5 hours, but after that, since my body is dependent on my feeding tube, my blood sugar will start to crash. Now I can manually eat sugar dots to try to keep my blood sugar up for longer, but of course that can only buy me a certain amount of time. So what feeding tube do I have and where does it go? So I have a GJ feeding tube. So the G portion goes to my stomach, which we drain, and the J part goes directly into about the middle of my small intestines, and that's where my formula goes in. Now, in my next video, I'll talk about what I'm allergic to and what I can eat nowadays, since some stuff has changed. Another question is, what are all your health conditions that you have diagnosed? Now, I have to say we don't know what my big label diagnosis is, but I have a lot of small ones. Well, we can't call them small, but we have a lot of separate diagnoses. We just don't know what the main one is. The ones that we do know of is gastroparesis, which is paralysis of the stomach, POTS, which I talked about in my last video, long QT syndrome, I'm an asthmatic, connective tissue disorder, which means I have a hard time with my joints. I was tested for EDS, but I was not diagnosed with it. I do have spastic muscles and neuropathy, though. I think that's everything I can answer today. I am planning on making a part 2. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, comment and tell me what you'd like to see in the future. See you guys next time.